everyone, it's Kathy Champion and you're back here on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I'm located here in Gastonia, North Carolina. Today we're actually going to be opening up our annual catalog. It has been live since May the 3rd and we are actually going to be looking at Abigail Rose collection. This is a full suite, and a suite in Stampin' Up! Terminology includes everything. It's like the whole shebang. So you get the stamp set, the dies, the designer series paper. Sometimes there's an embossing folder, sometimes there's ribbon, sometimes there's embellishments. So whatever that extra something is, you will get that as well. In this particular case, it is ribbon, but I'm not using the ribbon in my creation today. What I am going to be doing, and I'm going to show you the card that I kind of got my idea from, and I went to Creative 8, and I think I showed y'all this beautiful card that I made, and this was inspired by a tutorial from Connie Stewart. And I'm doing my card a slimline, but I'm going to make my inside a little bit different than this. I thought this was a cute card, but I wanted something a little bit different. This sits up really nice like that on your desk. You got the little butterflies or fireflies right there. I thought it was cute for the beach scene that I did on the front of this one, and that striped paper just really lent itself. Now these items, the paper has since retired. Of course, the linen thread, the stamp set, those are still current, as well as the sentiments that I used. But we're going to do something totally different. When I say totally different, no, I'm going to use that same format, but I'm going to do something different on the inside. So without any further ado, let me show you this beautiful paper that comes in this this collection. Now when I say it's a collection, you can order any 1, 2, 3, 4, or all of the items in a suite. Totally up to you. This paper is so pretty. If you love vintage, this paper will be right up your alley. I mean, what sounds any more vintage than Abigail Rose? And that was the name of this paper. I love this piece here, and I usually don't go for darker muted type colors, but this piece is just gorgeous, and we are going to be using that on our card, as well as this piece here. I love these flowers. I think they're gorgeous. We're also using a piece of this ledger, and on the back side of that ledger is just some flowers, but I love the ledger part of it. I will probably more than likely be ordering another pack of this because I loved it so well. And I'm going to pair that with a Very Vanilla, and let me show you what I have going on. The first thing we're going to do, because this card has a lot of pieces, and if I brought everything out and threw it up here all at once, you would be overwhelmed. So we're not going to do that. We're going to take it bit by bit. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of thick, Very Vanilla cardstock. And this piece is cut to 7 by 8.5. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your 8.5 inch piece, turn it on your 11 inch side, cut it at the 7 inch, then you're going to score it halfway, which is 3.5. And you're going to fold that over, and this makes you a traditional slimline card. Very easy. And if you have trouble getting your cards to lay down, take your bone folder and just rub it across your entire card like that, and you'll be surprised how nice and flat your card will lay. Now this is thick cardstock because I chose to use the thicker for my card base. All right, we're going to do that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the beginning, how we build our front piece right on down, and I've got my notes right here in front of me, so hopefully I won't miss anything, because like I said, this can be a bit intimidating. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do our mats, and my first mat is Early Expresso, and this first mat is cut 3 1/4 by 8 1/4, and that is going to sit right on top of your card base, just like that. Now what I like to do, and I think y'all know that about me, I like to build my card base or my mats and then put it all down on my card base at one time. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and trying to decide what adhesive do I want to use. I think I'm just going to use some liquid glue and get my little piece off of the top of that so my glue will flow. And I'm just going to take and put a little glue on the back of this. I'm going to run it up the side because you want to make sure that your edges catch, just like that. And then I'm going to bring this in, and I like to do mine vertically. And I'm using the glue because I really want these layers to be perfect as I can possibly get them. That looks pretty. And if you have any oozing out, if you decide to use glue, you could use Stampin' Seal. You could use two-sided tape, whatever is your preference. But I like to kind of iron out my glue after I put a piece on. Get that ironed out. Then we're going to come in with a piece of this Abigail Rose paper. And I chose this piece right here. And what I'm going to do is, I think for the paper, I am going to use Stampin' Seal. And the reason for that, and y'all know I like the plus better than I do the regular. So the reason I prefer to use the Stampin' Seal on Designer Series paper is this is thinner, and sometimes you can see the glue through it, sort of like with foil paper. But with your Stampin' Seal, it is a dry adhesive, and you don't have to worry about any of that. So I'm just going to put some strips of Stampin' Seal along my card, and then we're going to bring our mat back over, and I am going to be very careful to line this up. And I feel like if I get my top corners straight, I can pretty much bring everything down, hopefully, just like that, and we've got a nice beautiful mat. So now I have everything matted together, as you can see, and it's really bright in here today, so I hope it's not washing out the colors. I've got full sun coming in my window. You can probably see across my hands it looks like we have some sunshine. So what I want to do at this point now, I want to go ahead and adhere this to my card base itself. Now for this I am going to use liquid glue, and I'm going to make sure that I put a nice amount of glue all the way down the sides, across the bottom, down this side, and then we're going to swiggle it. I think I asked y'all once, was that a word? And I think it is. We're just going to make sure we got enough of glue on there that it's going to hold everything in place. And so now I'm just going to bring this on, and remember I'm using glue, so I have a little bit of wiggle room. So once I know that I've got that just like I want it, we can press it, and press it. So that is a beautiful card already, but we've got so much more that we're going to be doing to this card, and I'm just going to do my little trick. I'm just doing a little ironing, and iron that card out nice and flat and make sure that everything's distributed. Now for our front panel, we have 3 pieces, and again I'm going to move the card over, and my largest piece is the Early Expresso, and this one is 2 3/4, I believe. Let me get my ruler and I can tell you, but like I said, this is going to be 2 3/8 by 5 1/2. And all of these measurements are going to be in the description below. And if you go over to my Facebook group, like I said earlier, I will have a tutorial listed there under files. Then we're going to take a piece of Crumb Cake, and this only has like 1/8 of an inch around the edges. And this piece is measuring 2 1/4 by 5 3/8. Then I cut a piece from the Abigail Rose Designer Series paper, and this is that ledger. And I cut this one at 2 inches by 5 3/8, and that's gonna mat right on top of that, just like that. So let's go ahead and get our pieces together. So I'm going to use some liquid glue on the back of this one, and it doesn't matter which side because your crumb cake can be either or. So So I'm going to take this, and what I want to do is be very, very cautious with my layers because I want to make sure that everything is lining up just like I want it. That looks really good. Do my little bone folder trick and just iron out that glue. And then for the paper, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to grab my Stampin' Seal, and I'm looking at this because I want it to look like the ledger, and the writing looks like it's going in this direction. So I'm going to make sure when I turn that back over that I'm putting it down in the right orientation. Please excuse my voice. The allergies have been so bad and I have really been suffering with them this year. I'm really not sick. I just have really super bad allergies, and this time of the year is just really not a good time for me. So I'm getting that pretty much where I want it, and then I'm going to press it. And now that I've got that together, we can go ahead and put this on to the front of our card. Now here you can decide if you want to pop this up. I don't think it needs to be popped up because I want to pop up my flower and I want to pop up my sentiment. So for that reason, I am going to bring my flower, and what I did with this on my stamp set, I stamped out this particular flower right here. And I went ahead and colored it, and I colored this first with gray. So I colored first with the Smoky Slate light, and then I went back in with my pink because I wanted it to have that sort of grayish pink tinge. I did the same thing with my leaves. I went back in with I used the Smoky Slate all over it, and then I went back in with the light Just Jade and colored it because I wanted it to have a sort of a very vintage look, sort of an old look. And then in the middle I used some different colors, but I did finally go back over it with Pumpkin Pie, and I believe that was the dark, because I wanted that to kind of pop a little bit. So what we're going to do, I really do want to pop that up, but I'm not. I'm going to put liquid glue on the back of this. Sometimes you have to just go with your first inclination, and my first inclination was no, I don't need to pop this up because we're going to get too much layering going, and then it's not going to be what I want it to be at the end. So I'm going to just kind of even that up from side to side, top and bottom. Once I'm pleased with it, I'm going to press it down. I might even take my punch and lay on it because that's nice and heavy. And what I'm going to do now is I did stamp this sentiment that says you are positively the greatest, and we are going to put that on with some dimensionals right about here, and we're going to put this like that, I think, and I only want to put dimensionals right underneath where my flower's at. So, and with alcohol markers I can see where the flower's at because it's very apparent that they are right there. So I'm going to grab some dimensionals, and let's just go ahead and put some around the edges. I might come out just a little bit on the edges like that, but I know I want them on that flower. That flower is crucial to make sure we get it down like like we need it. Y'all excuse me, I'm going to grab a sip of drink. I could probably talk forever and not have this happen, and the minute I do a live, my throat will feel like it's closing up, and I'm always so embarrassed by it, but just bear with me. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and if you haven't picked up one of these tools, you owe it to yourself. I think every crafter should have one of these. It's so versatile. It does a whole lot more than just pull the backers off of your dimensions, your dimensionals. It is so good for so many things. So I want this rose to come up off of there just a little bit like that, and I'm going to position that just about like that. Oh, it's coming together. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, and then this I want to pop up, and I'm going to grab 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's all we need for this one. And I'm just going to pop those off. And then I'm going to bring this down to about here. I'm going to hold my card nice and straight on my grid, because if I do that, I'll have a better chance of getting that nice and straight. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to put a bow on here, so we're going to go ahead and work with the rest of the card and we will decide. Now we're going to go to our inside left panel, and in the instructions that you will find, it will say the card front, which will be everything that's on the front before this panel. Then you'll have front panel, which is building this piece, and then you'll open it up and your left panel, inside left, will be right here. And this is where we're going to use 2 pieces of paper. We are going to use a piece of the Early Expresso and another piece of that gorgeous Abigail Rose, and look how that pops in there. Isn't that gorgeous? Love, love, love it. Okay, so I am going to use Stampin' Seal again to put this piece on. I gotta remember my butterfly touch. I don't need to go heavy. For some reason, I always feel like if I don't press down hard on this, it's not going to come out, and that is not the case at all. You do need to flick your wrist up though, so that it rolls it back down for your next go round or your next usage. So I'm going to bring that right about, oops, that's not good. If you get it before it actually adheres, you can move it. That looks really good. And press that down. Now I'm going to take liquid glue and I'm going to put all over the back of this. I'm going to go up the sides just like that, and then we're going to put this down right inside, making sure we're squaring everything nice and even. Isn't that card just, I am just so in love with this card. As I was cutting my pieces and starting to put it together, I was like, this card is going to be a wow factor, and I really think it is. Now for our right panel, we have 3 mats. So again, I have Early Expresso, I have Crumb Cake, and I have our Very Vanilla. So what I want to do with this is we're going to go ahead and adhere that piece to that piece. I have this piece because we're going to stamp on it, and also we're going to do some little something on there. I'm just not sure yet. Y'all know how indecisive I am. So I'm going to go ahead and use my liquid glue, and we're just going to put that all around just like that. And down like that. I need to come down a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. I got all kinds of stuff on my fingers, glue, but that's okay. I got a wipe right here. I'll wipe it off. Okay, so now we can go ahead and put this piece down, and this one is going to center right on top of that piece of Crumb Cake. And I think for it, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. And across the bottom. And now we're going to bring this over, and we are going to line it up close to the top and the edges, and it got off. I felt it when it slipped. Like I said, if you get it up really quick, you'll have a minute, you'll have just a quick second or a hot second to get that off, and like you need it. I'm not having a really good time with this one. Let's get it on there just like that, running it down and over. and down to the edge. There we go. So now that is together, and this is ready to go on this panel. So you can already see that this is quite a thick card, and we haven't even put the mechanism inside that's going to make this a pop-up. But it is a very substantial card, and this is a card I would say you would make for someone that is very near and dear to your heart. It's not a card that you would just randomly make. There is a lot of product that's going into this card, but it is stunning. When everything comes together, oh, it is going to be an amazing, amazing card. So I'm going to press that down really good and just really give that a good press, and I'm going to come in like this. Anytime you're doing 2 and 3 layers, when you close this, you think you have got the card, you've got 2 layers here, the card, and 3 layers here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers inside, not to mention what you've got going on here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's a lot of layers, but I love a rich card, and this is a rich card. All right, the next thing we're going to do, we have some little pop-up strips, and these are cut at 1 inch by 4 3/4. And what we need to do is put this in your score, and you're going to score at 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, and 4 inches. So, and like I said, all of this will be in our description, so you won't have to worry about getting any of these dimensions. Everything will be right there for you. And let's see, make sure I'm getting this on here right. I'd be really sad to go all through all this work and then not have this to be right. Yeah, I think like that would be my best bet. Okay, I need to decide where I want this to land, and I really want this to be right about here. I think I have some panels that we're going to put some decorative pretties on, and let me show you what I have in mind. I'm going to have one that's going to come up like this. That's going to go on like that, and this is going to go on like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on here and here. Those 3/4 inch tabs is where you want your glue to go. The score line that's right there, just make sure you flatten that out. And I'm going to judge the height of this by this piece right here, and I don't want to go any higher than that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. My other piece is right here. And this one can come down further to the bottom. So when it opens, it's going to be just like that, but when it closes, this is all going to close in like so. Okay, so let's do our bottom one first, because I know this one can go down as close to the bottom as we want it. So I'm going to use, do I want to use glue or Stampin' Seal? I think I'm going to use Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to lay this piece down just like that, and I'm going to let it come up just about that far, and we're just going to close this part of our card over on it, and then we're going to turn it this direction, and we're going to put Stampin' Seal on this little portion right here, that other little 3/4 of an inch. Don't let it go over it. And now we're just going to fold the card back onto it like that. And then when you open that up, you're going to have a nice little place for a little pop-up. See how cute that's going to be? And I think this one, we're going to use the rose on it. So this piece, what I did is I cut next to the largest. It's actually this piece right here from the Scalloped contour dies. It's next to the smallest, and I cut 2 of those out. Also from the Cottage Flowers, I cut this flower. I cut this flower right here. And let me show y'all something. I'm going to show you what I did with this set before I even started working with it. I like to do this. I like to cut my dies. That one big die cuts out like this. You can actually use the stamps and the leaves to stamp into here. Let me grab the stamp set. Not the leaves, but the flowers. This flower and these little flowers will literally go into here, and some of these leaves will fit into these. So I thought it was just absolutely adorable that some of these pieces fit back into this. It makes it a very versatile piece because you can actually do some piecing. So this cuts the big flower like I used on the very front of this, and then the little flower, this one right here, is this piece here. And if you cut your dies and glue them on a piece of cardstock like this, you will know exactly how they're going to be. Also, stamp them out. Stamp your stamps out so you can see exactly what you got. And I did that on the back. So here I have my entire stamp set stamped out so I can see exactly the size it's going to look like and everything. That helps me to have a visual. And I labeled it and I put this in with my dies. So when I file this back, this will file right behind it. So my Cottage Flowers and the Cottage Rose is all together. That way I never have to wonder what is that going to be. Okay, now getting back to our scallop contours, this piece is cut from that middle die, or not the middle one, next to the smallest, right there. And I cut another piece of paper to go over it, and I have the dimensions. What I did is I measured to perfectly frame inside, and you've got little lines there. So I measured that little space. If you can see where it's raised up right there, I measured in between that, and I cut a piece of very vanilla that we can actually put in there, and that is going to adhere right inside of there. And let me show you what I plan on doing. I'm just going to put some liquid glue on this, and let's line it up just inside. And I can see, you probably can't see, but I can see where those markings are at. So it makes it really easy for me just to slide that in. And it just gives you like a beautiful little frame, like a little frame of your piece. So now I can take this flower, and we're gonna put some glue on it and put it inside of our card. And it's gonna pop up just like this. When the card is opened, that is going to pop up just like that. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm going to use, I put some glue in one of these little fine tip bottles so that I could be able to get glue without making a total mess onto my little pieces, just like that. And you don't have to get it on every little section, but you do want it enough that you can glue this down onto your piece. So now that I've got glue on it, I'm going to bring that around, and I want to bring it kind of at an angle and just lay that down like that. Yes, and I should have used my craft mat because I just got glue on my desk and my fingers. Well, I would have got it on my fingers anyway, but okay, let's see if we got that all taken care of. This glue will dry clear, so I don't have to really worry about it making a big mess on the front. We're going to lay that over and let it dry. I do want that to dry before I put it on here, because when I close my card, I don't want that to stick to that beautiful paper there. So Let's go ahead and get our next mechanism in, and we're going to do it the same way. We're going to fold that back and fold this down, and we're going to put this piece in first, and this one's going to come down to about here because this is going to sit up about like that, so we got plenty of room. And this other piece is going to go on like this, I think. We'll have to address that. We might have to turn it around and go the other direction. If we do, I'm going to have to get a different sentiment because the sentiment that I have to go on there fits on this horizontally, or yeah, in landscape mode. So, you know, if we do, we do. It's, you know, it's just, it's what it is. We're crafters, and this is what we do. I'm looking at that to see, yeah, see, when that, we can't do it that way. It's going to have to go this way. Okay, so now that I know that I'm going to need to get a different sentiment. That's okay. I'm going to come down to about here to put this one in, because we know that this is going to go up to here, and you don't want it to exceed the top of your card. So I know that right about there is where it needs to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pencil, and I'm just going to make myself a tiny little tick mark right there. And that way I know that I can see that mark, and I know that this is exactly where that needs to line up to. Just like that. So let's use some Stampin' Seal on this. Making sure, always make sure that this outer edge is facing out, because you don't want to make that mistake. Fold that down like that. Now I'm going to line that up with that mark and not go over my score line. The middle score line in the middle of your card. You do not want to impede that. There we go. So now we're going to open this back up this way, and we're going to use Stampin' Seal right there on this part of it. And then we're just going to fold it shut like that. And now we have that mechanism is in. And see what I mean? This is going to make such a beautiful card. And the fact that we can, I put some temporary adhesive on the back of this, and it is not wanting to stay. So I'm going to be covering this up with some glue or something. I was doing kind of a trial run on it, and it just didn't pan out for me. Let me grab my silicone craft sheet. That way it won't stick. It'll stick, but it'll come back up. And you can see what I'm talking about. It's like coming apart up underneath there. And this is a temporary adhesive that I had. It's not a Stampin' Up product. I know, shame on me, right? I'm going to take this piece. Maybe I want to stamp first. Let's see what the front says, "You are positively the greatest." And what if they said it's going to be fab? I love that. Or let's look over here, because I also pulled out my charming sentiments. And let's put I had that wishing you everything wonderful, and I love that. I think I'm going to do Faith Over Fear. That will fit, and I love Faith Over Fear. Yep, we're going to do Faith Over Fear, and I'm going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat, and I'm going to use Early Expresso. grab a stamp block and pick that up, and we're going to ink it. You know, I always feel like I need to stamp it on something as a trial run, so maybe we'll grab this little piece. Beautiful. Okay, ink it up again. Right over the middle. And stamp it down. I'm going to hold it because I want all of that ink to transfer. And there we go. Beautifully stamped. Beautiful Faith Over Fear. Love that sentiment. And I have got way too much stuff on my desk for my own good, but it's just the way I craft. I'm sure y'all are probably the same way. I do clean up as soon as I'm finished. I clean up my mess, but for right this minute, I'm going to put this on just like I did the other one. We're going to use some glue. Just like that, and center it up, press it down, and I'm going to need to get that adhesive off of there. You know why? I'm only going to be able to put adhesive on the bottom edge of that. So I'm going to get my little gummy eraser and see if I can just pull this off. It usually comes off pretty well, and it is. Maybe taking a little bit of the cardstock with it, but that's okay. Just like so. And then get this one off too. Probably should have just cut another piece, but it's all right. Yeah, that's I got it all off. These little erasers, you can get them at the Dollar Tree. I've had mine forever. They were actually made for the Xyron to get the excessive stickiness off, and it works so great if you ever get adhesive on something and you need to pull it off. And one of these will last you like forever and a day, and then some. All right, so we got that all off of there. It took a teeny bit of work, but we got it. And now we are ready to put these on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere these with just some liquid glue, or I could use some, yeah, I'm going to put liquid glue right on here. Just like that. And I'm going to put this one down right here. And I'm going to take this beautiful rose and I'm going to put it down right there. And I think we are good. Now, if you want to, you could write your name here. If you don't want to write on the inside of this, you could put a little panel on the back, or you could just sign on the very back of this card. Would be lovely. Now my question and my dilemma is, do I want to put a little knot bow right there? And I think I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon and just try a tiny little knot bow. I don't want anything too big. I want something, just a little something. That wasn't quite long enough. So let me... Should have grabbed my other scissors. This is a nice wide ribbon, and this is the ribbon that comes with this suite. So I'm just going to tie a little knot, something like that. A little knot bow. I think they're so cute. And let me get a better pair of scissors. I need my good sewing scissors for this ribbon. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle cut like that, and I'm going to angle cut like that, and then I'm going to put this down right there in the middle. It just looked like it needed something, and I thought that would be really a pretty thing to do right there in the middle. So I'm going to use glue dots, and I'm going to use quite a few. I am going to use 1, 2, and maybe 3. And see if I got enough on there to hold that. And this ribbon frays, so you can fray it a little bit to give it even a more vintage look. I love that. Isn't that cute? I do think I'm gonna trim that just a hair. Maybe this little corner right here. Yeah, with it fraying, I didn't need it to do quite that much. But there is our card. I love the way that turned out. Now it is going to be a labor of love. This is not going to be a card that you can just make, you know, overnight. It's going to take sitting down, and I would suggest you to take one panel at a time. Do your front. Let me zoom y'all in just a little bit. I had you out because I realized that this was a long card and it was going to be hard to really fully see it. But don't y'all love that little pop-up mechanism? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I hope that y'all have enjoyed the process of watching me put this little card together. I hope it's something that you would like to do and that you would be interested in any of these products. Please check out my online store. I am, as I said earlier, a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I would love to earn your business. So if you place an order for over $149.99, do not use my host code, but any orders up to that, if you will use this host code, it will be posted in the description below as well. You will receive a free gift from me. But if you spend over that, you'll get a free gift from me, and you'll also earn Stampin' Rewards from Stampin' Up! So that's a win-win. So God bless you all, every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this card as much as I have. This card is stunning. I think it's superb. I love the way my mechanism is working. I love the colors. I'm always, I like muted colors, but y'all know I am really a bright color girl. I love my bright reds and pinks and orange and yellows and purples and blues, but there's something to be said for a card that has that vintage look. And you can see my sun shining through my window, so it's probably washing out my colors a little bit. But this card is stupendous. Look at that. Love it. Let me know in the comments if you loved it and if this is something you would be willing to try. It's really not hard. Just take it section by section. God bless and keep you. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Father in heaven. He is worthy. Until we craft again, God bless and keep you. Bye-bye.